Welcome to the Retrospect podcast, a show where people come together from different walks of life and discuss a topic from their generation's perspective. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Stoney.
Hello.
And Jason.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, buddy. Boy, do we have a...
I didn't know we had seating in the studio here, and now we've got seating. We got people here. We have visitors here.
With a live studio audience.
Live studio audience today.
Incredible.
Wow. But I think part of that is our guest today.
Yes.
And we have a fantastic subject today, and it's close. We don't apologize for being men of faith on this show. And so I'm going to kind of lead into this. A couple of months ago, Miranda and I left a medical procedure for me, and I realized that I was going to have surgery again on my eyes.
Right.
And I said, baby, where do you want to go to lunch? And she says, well, I want to go to this restaurant. And I said, oh, I don't know, baby. I don't know if I feel like going there. She said, no, I really want to go there. So our next week's topic is trust. And so just to kind of give a little thing on that one. And so I trusted my wife. And I said, okay, baby, let's go to this restaurant. And we get there, and there is absolutely nobody else in the restaurant except for one person. And they actually sat us right next to this person. And the gentleman was sitting there on his computer, not paying attention, and just working away on something really hard. And they sat us down, and I went, excuse me, sir. And he recognized my voice and popped up. And it was our guest today, Baton Rouge City Police Chief Murphy Paul. And he is one of the best people that I know. I love this man. He has a place in my heart and always will. He is just an amazing individual. And he was telling my wife and I about a TED Talk that he did. And, that's just an amazing thing. So that worked this story up. And it's about his subject today, which I'll throw to him in a minute. But Ian, you got something we need to talk about?
I don't have anything personal.
Housekeeping?
I just want to, it's kind of a new thing now. I like to kind of maybe harken back to some past episodes we've done with some information that I've, come up with.
Right.
But there's two things. One, I want to mention that on our episode on AI.
Oh, gosh.
This article from the AP came out. White House unveils new efforts to guide federal research of AI. Now, if you recall in our conversation that they were kind of concerned about kind of the dangers of AI and where AI is going and how it can change, how we, we go about life. And so it appears that, this is pretty serious. So it says the White House on Tuesday announced new efforts to guide federally backed research on artificial intelligence as the Biden administration looks to get a firmer grip on understanding the risk and opportunities of the rapidly evolving technology. So the report recognizes that AI can enable new forms of interaction between educators and students, help educators address variability in learning, increase feedback loops, and support educators. The White House said in a statement, it also underscores the risk associated with AI, including algorithmic bias and the importance of trust, safety, and appropriate guardrails. So I just kind of want to bring that up that
so basically after our podcast on AI, people are listening.
Exactly.
Okay,
No kidding. And then just something else that I saw, the Advocate just came out with this article on May 24th, fentanyl overdose deaths rising in rural parishes.
Uh-oh.
It's a game changer and it's a killer. So it seems to be now this is happening everywhere. It's not just an urban problem.
No, it's not.
Oh, yeah.
And just says fentanyl is involved in more deaths of Americans under 50 than any other cause of death, including heart disease, cancer, homicide, suicide, and other accidents, according to a statement from the Drug Enforcement Administration on National Fentanyl Awareness Day. So just kind of want to throw that out there.
After hearing that one, I'm going to throw this to Chief Paul. Chief Paul, please introduce yourself.
Yes, sir.
And,
Thank you for having me here.
man,
today.
we love it. This is amazing.
Looking forward to the conversation.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes,
That's
sir.
awesome.
What are we going to be talking about today? You did a TED Talk, right?
I did. You know, I was blessed. One of our a couple who from our community in the near Southern University over there, and they reached out and said they were putting together a TED Talk, a TEDx,
Okay.
and asked if I would be willing to speak. And I said, well, I would be honored to speak. What do you want me to talk about?
Right.
And so they said, whatever's on your heart, Chief.
So how did you come up
Yeah.
with this subject?
It was interesting. I wasn't sure what I was going to talk about, and I was on the fence, and I was in my office, and when I was in my office, I got a call that somebody wanted to see me downstairs, and usually nobody could see me. There's like layers, right, before you get to the chief, and I called myself avoiding it, and ended up going downstairs later. Well, I sent another person to address that issue, and while I was outside, a car pulls up, and this guy gets out the car, and he's just looking at me, and he has something in his hands, and I'm talking to someone, and he was trying not to be rude and interrupt the conversation, but it was a little awkward. So I said, "Sir, can I help you?" And he said, "Are you Chief Murphy Paul?" I said, "Well, it depends. Do you like him?" I wasn't in uniform. I was in plain clothes.
Okay.
And I said, "It depends. If you like him, then I would be that
I can
guy."
be him,
Yeah.
right?
And he just kept shaking his head. And then he said a scripture, and he began to talk about God. And I'm like, okay. He said, I just didn't think I was going to meet you. I was with some guys, and we were talking about who can help us with this. We want to get involved and help. And one guy said, what about that guy we seen on TV, Chief Paul? He'll help. He'll listen, is what he said.
Okay.
Oh, that's
I said,
amazing.
well, what you do?
Okay.
He said, I was in Angola State Penitentiary. He said, I got out. He said, and it's a group of guys like me. We're part of an organization, but nobody listened to us. But we think we can help change the hearts and minds of some of the young men out here that's involved in violence. And he said, would you listen? I was like, wow.
They had your attention, didn't they?
And I said, what are you doing on this particular date? He said, no plans. I said, come to Southern University. I'm doing a TED Talk.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay.
And what the TED Talk was on, it was titled The 3 F's, Faith and Family First.
Okay. Wow.
And it just was a journey through my life experience, what I experienced growing up, how young men who grew up in the same environment found themselves in a totally different situation. Me growing up through the ranks of law enforcement and my childhood friends living their life behind the jail cell. So Faith and Family First talks about that journey. What did I do right? What did they do wrong?
Okay.
And I narrowed it down to 3 things. One was education. That was a key difference in others like me who found themselves successful and on the right track. The second was the 3 C's, control, choices, and consequences.
All right.
Right? Understanding that there's family and friends that teach you that there's consequences to your actions at a young age. It starts at home. It starts when you're a baby.
Right.
So then I tie that control, choices, and consequences and understanding how important it is to have discipline and not make emotional decisions because they have bad consequences. The 3 C's, control, choices, and consequences, talks about that life is not, the decisions we make are important, but how we respond to adversity is more important than the hardship itself.
Right.
That's right.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
Okay? Attitude is a choice.
Yes, it is.
And how you respond can be the difference of you keeping your head down or shaking it off, lifting your head up and keep moving toward that goal.
Well, attitude determines your altitude, basically.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
It's all about attitude
Yes, sir.
in everything that we do. I love that. That's amazing.
Well, and for me, it was like it was my mother, it was my uncles, it was the family. Young age, you did something wrong, there's consequences, there's discipline, and there was a fear of going to jail. right? You didn't want to go to jail. There was a fear that was taught at a young age.
You're going to lose something if you went there.
Absolutely. But there was a fear of disappointing my family.
That's even bigger.
Yes.
Fear of disappointing
That's
my
even
mother.
bigger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
You just look at her eyes, that disappointment. Oh, no, you make a little mistake. So there was a fear of disappointing my mother. But one fear that we don't talk about is the fear of disappointing myself. Having self-awareness, having self-love, knowing that I'm trying to do something or reach somewhere and there's certain things I can't do. That don't mean I'm a coward if you bully me or if you do this. Nah, I'm focused.
Right.
I'm just going to shake it off and
I'm
pray
going
for you.
places.
Sure.
I can't get distracted with this.
It's just to take you off course. That's distractions. And so I talk about the 3 C's, and then I end it with the 3 F's, faith and family first. Because the young men that we're dealing with in violent crime in our city, they don't understand the 3 C's and they don't understand the 3 F's. And I'll give you an example. Every young kid that's arrested for violent crime, they go through juvenile services. I spoke to the director of juvenile services. There's an intake form, your name, your address, and all of that. And they ask the question, what's your religion?
Oh.
What's your faith?
Oh, wow. See, I never thought that would come into play.
90% blank.
That's right.
Wow.
There's a lot of research
So
on
there's
just that.
no fear of God.
That's huge.
There's no fear of God. There's no fear of God. So when we look at some of our youth who are not going to church, don't understand the importance of having a fear of God.
Yeah.
I think you can kind of see how we get in this mess, this gumbo of mess that we're in right now.
I think I've talked about this in a previous episode a little bit about feeling like the loss of faith over the past, even just in my lifetime alone, it feels like, more importantly, it feels like the loss of a moral compass, of like understanding what's right and wrong. Like I feel like people know it, but they don't like know it. Like I was raised in church. I was raised, with faith and knowing like between good and evil in a way.
Right.
And I feel like I've talked to people that may not have that same understanding of like, it's wrong, but they're like, but there's no real underlying grave consequence of,
that's
a good or bad decision.
That's interesting because I have actually some statistics on actually religion and the practice of religion. It was one of the things that I pulled a lot of research on just that.
Right.
And they say church membership is strongly correlated with age, as 66% of traditionalist U.S. adults born before 1946 belong to a church, compared to 58% for baby boomers, 50% for Generation X, and 36% for millennials. The limited data Gallup has on church membership among the portion of Generation Z that has reached adulthood so far are showing membership rates similar to those as millennials. So as you can see, we're becoming less and less tied to churches, which in the past provided those social safety support networks that brought people through some dark times.
Well, I like that direction there. And when I was trying to prepare for Chief Paul's talk today, I went, there's a difference between faith and religion. There's a huge, big difference. I'm not a real religious person, but I'm more of a spiritual person. I believe religion is for people who are afraid of going to hell, and spirituality is more for people who've already been there. So what I did was I kind of looked at a take on what is faith. And faith can be described as a deep-seated belief and trust in something greater than ourselves. It goes beyond mere intellectual understanding and connects us to a higher power, a spiritual force, or guiding principles that shape our world view. While faith often has religious connotations, it can also encompass a broader sense of trust and belief in the unseen and intangible. But when it comes to family life, Faith takes on even greater significance and acts as a unifying force, bringing family members together in shared beliefs and values. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have that, you don't have a connection with your family now, and then you don't have a moral compass on top of that to help steer you, so your family is not your team anymore.
Right.
And so when you don't have that acceptance and teamship from your family, you go elsewhere to look for it. And unfortunately, who are the people that are accepting you first?
You're going to the wrong tribe.
You're going to the wrong tribe. So now that we can delve into the relationships of faith and family, Chief Paul, I see you got something else on your mind to throw at us now.
I think, when I look at all of the great things that's going on in Baton Rouge, right? Look, as a chief of police, and when I get briefed on, look, we arrested more than 4,000 people for felons last year. So it's not like we're soft on crime. We're putting people in jail. One of the problems is we dealing with the same individuals over and over and over and over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. So you don't have that level of accountability. What does accountability look like to me? Somebody does a crime, we make an arrest, then he goes to jail, and then he's found guilty or not guilty, right? Mm-hmm. That time period is taking too long. Okay. So when I look at the youth, when I go to church, and you don't see a lot of young kids. Yeah.
You see older people.
You see mama, you see daddy, you see grandma, you even see
lots of grandma and grandpa.
Right? You even see girlfriend or wives, but there's a lot of particular young men that we would like to see. And let's just be direct. We're not seeing this energy at the level that I would like. Where is the church in a crisis? You got to get from behind that brick and mortar, right? You got to meet them where they're at.
Right.
And don't get me wrong. There's some faith-based leaders that are doing great work. But if we don't start touching the hearts of these young men, we're going to continue having these narratives because we, law enforcement, are dealing with the symptoms.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Well, on that.
Not the root cause.
Yeah. Right. Faith plays a crucial role in times of hardship and adversity in the family. It becomes a source of resilience, providing hope and comfort during challenging times. Faith encourages forgiveness. Here we go. This is empathy and understanding, enabling family members to navigate conflicts, disagreements with grace and compassion. And we are losing that every day. It instills values such as patience, kindness, and selflessness, fostering an environment of love and harmony in the family and the community. Because one thing that I've noticed that we've lost over the years is the community.
That's what I was just about to say.
That
community
talked about family and we just had a increase in shootings this weekend.
Okay.
And homicides. And I was getting briefed on them. This individuals who knew each other. They related in a couple of those.
Wow.
Involved in fatal encounters.
We did an episode a while back, a couple of weeks ago, on the disposable world, in that even family and friendships are now so disposable. If I don't need you, I'm done with you.
Domestic violence went through the roof during COVID. We saw a closer relationship between victims and suspects on violent crime. And it's missing so much, right? This faith. I think about all of the programs. The mayor's office has this Safe, Hopeful, Healthy initiative. If you go to safehopefulneighborhoods.com, that's safehopefulneighborhoods.com. And when you look at the services that they're providing, resident leadership, community projects, civic associations, some of the training is de-escalation training.
Oh, okay.
Anger management.
Wow.
All of those things that I received from the institution of family.
A family.
All of those skills that I needed to interact with folks, I got through church.
Yeah.
Got through family. And I think that when we look at the importance of the 3 F's, and look, when I say family, I'm not just talking about immediate family. I'm talking about the family of community.
Extended family.
Extended family, right?
And I said that in here. The village.
Takes the village to raise a child, right?
Because I have a number of people here in our studio audience today, and you who I consider my family.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have that hardcore family because of choices that I made in my life. My father disowned me. So I didn't have a father figure. My mother and I, we rebuilt our relationship, and I went to live in, and you and I have had this conversation. Yeah. I went a different route than my father, and other people became my family because sometimes loyalty's thicker than blood.
Right.
And so that community, I think, is really so important today, but it used to be the church was the center of the community. Even in South Louisiana, where we're from, the Cajuns, they had all of these different type jobs, fishers, farmers, hunters. What they did was, and then they came together Friday night and Saturday mornings. They had a big bonfire. They bought and sold and traded their wares on Saturday. Guess what they did as a community on Sunday? They went to church together, and then they got in their pirogues and their boats, and they went back home and did the week stuff over again and met back Friday and Saturday.
You know,
it was the community.
So what you're saying is, like, I think a lot of the underlying issues too is the lack of fathers in male figures, and a lot of these criminal statistics that are popping up. I found something very interesting actually in a book called Soft Patriarchs: How Christianity Shapes Fathers and Husbands. And I quote this. The author Wilcox found that fathers' religious affiliations and religious attendance were positively associated with their involvement in activities with their children, such as one-on-one interaction, having dinner with their families, and volunteering for youth-related activities. Compared with fathers who had no religious affiliation, those who attended religious services frequently were more likely to monitor their children, praise and hug their children, and spend time with their children. In fact, fathers' frequency of religious attendance was a stronger predictor of paternal involvement in one-on-one activities with children than were employment and income, the factors most frequently cited in academic literature.
Wow.
So that right there tells you it has nothing to do how much money you have or any of that stuff. Is when the father makes that a priority,
I think
in the family, that has a huge effect.
It's a moral compass. It's a moral compass that if you are the leader of the family, the spiritual leader of the family, you have certain duties and responsibilities to your wife, to your children, and above all, you have a certain duty and responsibility to God that we don't have a fear of anymore. But if you fear God and you put him first, then you put your wife next and your kids next and everything else below that, including your job below that.
Right.
Now you have an order that God has ordained that faith dictates. And if you don't do that, you've lost the order.
And guess what? That's what I'm saying. We have gotten away from that.
Wholly gotten away from that.
The whole ratio now has been completely thrown out, and there are consequences for this. And we're living with that now every day in every place in this country. We're dealing with this.
We've become so selfish that one of the things that concerns me, we see that we have so many people who gravitate toward influencers, radio station, news stations that support their belief system or what they want to believe, but intentionally and deliberately stay away from any evidence that they feel will threaten that belief system. They don't want to get another perspective. No, I'm going to go there because that's what I want to believe. And that concerns me, you know, and we see people, and I've had conversation with, you know, some that I'm friends with, some, it's like, well, wait, what's wrong with getting a different perspective, right?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
And I think that's the importance, like with faith, right?
Right.
When, you know, it represents the good. It represents hope. It
Yes.
represents
which we have
attitude.
very little of right now.
Yes. But I think that's why people are so toxic. That's why we see so much toxicity today. Mental health is real in this country. You know,
Yes, it is.
Look at how many mass shootings we've had, and they keep going up. Why? Why? Why is everybody so angry?
And
That's why.
Because they don't
Just-
have faith in family.
Just to sit down and have lunch, and you and your lovely was there, and just to get that love, it's like, man, this is a beautiful thing. I don't want to go back to work right now. You know, that
was a
30
great
minute
day,
lunch
too.
turned
That
into
was
a
a
couple of hours
yes,
because
that
it
was
was about
amazing.
positivity. It was about all of the good things. I took my family out last Saturday. We went downtown. My aunt made 80 years old.
Oh, wow.
And
Hey,
we had-
Auntie.
yeah, we had dinner. I mean, it was beautiful. It was at night, and as I'm walking downtown Baton Rouge, I'm realizing, wow, this is a beautiful place. It was the night was beautiful. People were out there enjoying themselves. Past a couple of clubs as I walked, but I just wanted to take it in. But I felt safe. I felt safe. Saw a couple of police cars passing through, wave. And then the next day, I went to a cigar event, smoking cigars. I felt safe. People laughing, everybody having a good time. And they had the Friday, the downtown Friday, they do the concert series. on
Live
Fridays.
After 5.
Live
After 5 with families sitting in their
It's packed.
chairs.
It's packed.
Listening to music. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is Baton Rouge. That's Baton Rouge. That same feeling you got when LSU won the national championship. It didn't matter if you was black, white,
Tigers.
purple, green. It didn't matter your religion. It did not matter your political affiliation. We was all celebrate. That's Baton Rouge. But then at some point in our daily lives, when it's not, that was those moments, right?
Yeah, those community moments. Yeah.
Baton Rouge is talked about different. I want y'all to think about this. We talked about this earlier. Think about the surrounding areas. If there's crime, who do we blame? Do we blame the local leaders like we blame here in the city of Baton Rouge?
But Baton Rouge has
people-
always been that
people
beacon.
project.
Yes.
People project, and I do believe that in those cases where people are speaking that way from those remote areas,
Yeah.
their frame of reference is where they came from.
Yeah.
If you think about it, they haven't really identified themselves as members of their new community that they live now. They're still referencing
Right.
where they used to live.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
everything
that's
is colored with that disparaging look of where I grew up, and I don't live there anymore. Which if I wish that they would have stayed there and actually fought,
Yeah.
Right.
maybe things would have turned out differently.
And that's where I was going at with how we speak, and that's why faith is so important, right? Faith and family first, right? Because I see the beauty. I know the mayor sees the beauty. I see the programs. Just yesterday, I was coaches, football coaches came to my lunch and learn at the office, and we talked about what we can do. How can they help with getting our youth on the right track? I mean, beautiful, positive conversation. Everybody left there with a optimistic attitude. You know, the cup is half full. You know, it's not half empty, but hope, right? We ended with prayer in my last meeting with our Citizens Academy, and we ended that in prayer. And just to listen to all of the comments about this city. How we speak about Baton Rouge matters.
Yes, it is.
It
Yes,
does.
it does. Yes.
I see the beauty. Yes, there's challenges. Yes, we got to get this crime down. Yes, it's down 40% in some areas, and that can go up and down. There is progress. But as long as we always see the ugly and speak on the toxicity, we don't realize that the good far, far, far outweighs the bad. I love Baton Rouge. She's beautiful. I think she kind of sexy too.
That's right. That's right.
Sometimes she get on my nerves, right? But
Well, I like what you said there. I'm almost 60 years old. I'm the boomer of this group, and from the early 80s, with being in private sector protective services for 20 years, I moved around worldwide. Guess where I always come back home to? South Louisiana, and near Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
I love this. I love this state. I love this city. And that's one of the things I've always felt about this area was the community, and that it was still somewhat faith-based. And you said something earlier, Chief Paul, a few minutes ago, about we look to these influencers. We look to these people to tell us how to feel now.
Yeah.
And and this is a generational show, and hear me out, as Ian likes to say, hear me out. We looked to our civic leaders for leadership. We wanted to be astronauts. We wanted to be doctors. We wanted to be priests or pastors. We looked to those people, and we still, at that time, we had a couple of politicians we could even look up to. But now we look at athletes, influencers, entertainers, people that's not, I don't want to look up to these people. I want to look up, and I'm going to put you on a little pedestal right now. Chief Paul, I look up to you. You're a hero of mine. And I have another man sitting here in the studio audience that is a hero of mine. And I'm going to say something about this man that caught my heart early on. When he found out that I had a brain tumor, he walked into the foyer of my office, and he hugged me and started praying for me and didn't care who saw or who heard. So that's what we need in this community. Yes. We need people like y'all who pray, who love, who don't care that people seek the positive, and that hope grows from there.
Yes, sir.
And I loved it when you said we look to these influencers. Those people got nothing for us. They don't care about our community. They don't care about our people. They don't care about our culture here in South Louisiana. We have one of the most amazing cultures in the world because we are such, and New Orleans and Baton Rouge, this has been such a hodgepodge of the most amazing cultures put together. The food, the music. We had a great episode on music where we talked about this is where jazz came from, baby. Yes. This is jazz. And, with a little bit of blues mixed in from the Mississippi little area right there. But that's what's so amazing about Faith and Family First. Yeah. We're touching on something here that can really affect people's lives and change the culture that we're going into. And if we can get that message out, that's amazing.
It's, you say they don't care about, what they care about is likes. Yes. How many likes they can get, right?
That's the media world.
That is the media. And it's an addiction to electronics that we established in another episode.
It's that dopamine.
We monetize bad behavior. Think about it. You look at some of the toxic videos that go viral.
Oh, yeah.
And all you got, like, they're young folks who know if they get to a certain number, then they can be famous and make money. And make money off of it.
It's that ding on their phone every time somebody likes their video. That ding, ding, ding,
well,
ding.
But that's to agree with what he's saying. Like, it is that. It is, I think wanting validation. But like you were saying, is there becomes a point where if you're popular enough, you can make money off of it.
Right.
And that's hard to say no to. It's like, I don't have to work. I can just play this game, and then of course make money from it.
It's a different drug.
I know people
also.
that make a lot of money just playing video games all day long.
It's a different drug because back in the 80s when I was in my adulthood, and you had the neighborhoods, and I lived in a different neighborhood for a while there. Chief Paul, you and I talked about that, and our guest there. I saw some things from a different avenue. And how do you tell kids to go to work for McDonald's for $5.35 an hour? Now, what is it? $7.85 is the minimum wage?
Oh, no,
or
not
go
McDonald's
on the corner and sell drugs and make the big wad of cash and drive the fancy cars with the big rims. And how do you compete with that? And now it's just a new drug. My stepson is the same way. He is addicted to electronics. He is addicted to social media, and he wants those likes and believes. I asked him, what do you want to be? I want to be a TikTok star.
That's not unusual now. I guarantee if you did a survey,
it's just a different drug.
A lot of kids would go down that road. I mean, it's just, I don't know how you fix that. I mean, because tech's not going away, especially with AI. It's going to even get more.
Well, we're in a society now where there is a split home. The parents don't live together. Or if the parents are still together, like Miranda and I, we both have to work. So when do you have time for that? So what I did was, if you'll indulge me, Chief Paul, and to interrupt in your thing here, I looked up some practical tips and strategies for fostering family relationships. Okay. Is this a good idea?
Yeah.
So number one, this is number one, and I love that. Normally I go backwards, but I love number one. Make intentional family time.
Yep.
Okay? Set aside dedicated time each week for activities to allow family members to connect and bond. This could include family meals, game nights, outings, or shared hobbies, which I love. I would love for me and Magnus to find just a shared hobby and just being able to hang out and do. Make these moments a priority and use them to create lasting memories. Number two, practice effective communication. Communication is vital for understanding and resolving conflicts within the family. Encourage open and honest dialogue where every family member feels heard and valued. Active listening, and this is something we talked about in the leadership episode. Active listening is so important in every aspect of your life. Active listening and empathy, which was another thing, play key roles in fostering effective communication. Number three, foster shared values. How about that be faith? Okay, so faith can provide shared foundation of values that guide family interactions and decision making. Identify and discuss the values that are important to your family and find ways to incorporate them in your daily lives. This strengthens the sense of unity and purpose within the family. How about that? I love that one. Resolve conflicts with love and respect. Conflicts are inevitable in any family, but it's important to approach them with love and respect. Encourage open dialogue, seeking to understand each other's perspectives. Practice forgiveness and find solutions that promote harmony and understanding. And what I would like to do on that one is, wouldn't that be great for the community? How about, can we add family and community to number 4 there? And number 5, and you could do this in the community too, because when I was in the community, you had community barbecues, blah, blah, blah. Establish family rituals and traditions. Rituals and traditions provide a sense of stability and identity within the family and the community. Incorporate faith-based rituals or create your own unique traditions that reinforce family bonds and create shared experiences. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So everything you just mentioned, which was some great takeaways, that's some good action things that we can do, right? Every person, every listener can.
In the family and community.
Absolutely.
We can apply them both ways.
Well,
That's right.
Neighborhoods.
When you receive it in the family, when you learn it in the family and you receive it, that's what you give. See, hurt people hurt people.
Oh, of course.
Sure.
Right?
Yes.
I have said that for a while.
So because
Yes, you've actually said it on the podcast before.
Because you're receiving it,
yeah,
that's what you're giving. When you receive love,
it's easier to give it.
When it's also, it's like you've said it with your meetings or your whatever you had said specifically about how you go into these meetings, you go into these things hopeful, or you're at least leaving hopeful. It's, again, I think that's a lot of it. It's like you can go into a meeting and just talk negatively about it for 30 minutes to an hour, and everyone's going to leave in a bad mood. But you can be intentional about, being positive, looking towards, yes, there's obviously so many negative and awful things in the world, but be intentional about let's focus on the good things here.
And look, it's not easy.
No, it's not.
I didn't heard so many things about me,
especially
in blogs, and people come up, and I'm like,
especially in
I'm
your
a nice guy,
your position in your job, I can only imagine, being faced with good and bad news. It's just
But it's where you get your energy.
Right.
Every morning I wake up.
Right.
Facts. Every morning I wake up. I put on a Pandora. I put on gospel.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I put on gospel.
Love it.
I listen to gospel every morning.
Mm-hmm.
Every morning there's a little lady who work at the state police cafeteria, Miss Gloria, sends me a prayer. Every single morning I receive that.
That's awesome.
There's a guy who works at LSU in Verge, sends me a prayer every morning. The guy who runs the city attorney, Mr. Andy Dotson, sends me a prayer. I don't know if he got promoted yet, but a captain major at the Louisiana State Police sends me a prayer. A former Baton Rouge police officer, Pastor Williams, who's now a pastor in the church in Baton Rouge, sends me a prayer every morning. So I start my day off with prayers.
Right.
People praying for me, people praying for this community. And
can I interrupt?
Sure.
I have a private time in my mornings, and I pray for you daily. I mention you by name to God every day, and I thank him for our friendship,
yes, sir,
our love, and that he gives you wisdom and guidance and the strength every single day.
And
because you are
that,
so
brother.
important to me, as you have my heart. You
That's
really
why
do.
I love you, man.
And
I
I
felt
pray for you
that
every
from
day.
day one when
Yes.
we first met. And when you have people like you, when you have so many people praying for you, every Wednesday, the Mirror has her Winning Wednesdays, is what it's called. And I dial into that. And let me tell you, getting that positive perspective in the morning,
Right.
man, that can help your day, right?
Right.
We talk about hope and, so how I respond to things is different because of where my energy is coming
Right.
from.
You can't live in negativity.
But
you have
the
to
point
have
I'm trying to
positive
make
energy.
is, and what I'd like to say to add to that now is because I start my day praying for you, and Colonel Chavez Cameron sitting right there, and now Miss Portia sitting right there, and everybody here, I start my day in prayer for y'all every single day. That starts my day off in a positive way.
Sure.
Because if I ask God for y'all and to look after y'all, and I'm your keeper, that's so important. My brother's keeper, my sister's keeper now. And I pray for Miranda and Magnus. And I list all of these people. If you start your day in prayer, you start your day in a fantastic place.
Absolutely.
Just a fantastic mindset. Because now those people that you're praying for become your family and your community. And that's what I believe with all of my heart, 100%.
I pray for my mayor president.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I pray for my president.
Mm-hmm.
I pray for my elected officials.
Right.
I prayed for Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
I prayed for Barack Obama when they were presidents. I don't want anybody to fail. When you're talking about people who are in positions of authority, and nobody knows the difficulties until you wear those shoes.
Right.
Right. When you got to make those hard decisions that you know are not going to be popular.
I'm not just to kind of bridge a gap here. I'm nowhere near probably the same decisions you're making, but even in my job, I've had middle management, if not even higher management positions, and it's the same thing of once you get to that place of I have to make some calls and people aren't going to like it. That's a hard thing to have, and having people around you that can really back you up.
Yeah.
And really understand.
Look, leadership comes down to making the hard decision, and that may put you on an island.
Yes.
But
so
I've had the discussion with a couple of people here that leadership or the decision making is a triangle, and even in your family, that's a triangle. You have God first, then you, and then your family below you. And once you get my age, you could have 20 or 30 people below your family. But even in the places, Baton Rouge City Chief, you have this triangle, and your circle gets smaller the higher you go. That circle's pretty small. Ian and his family, you and your job, Colonel Cameron and his job, Jason, even in your job, in my job, once you start moving up that triangle, it gets lonely at the top. Yeah. Even in your family. And so it's not that you're making different decisions. You're making decisions that impact your family and the same way.
I'm talking about like I have the staff I'm a part of now is not nearly as big as it once was, but there's a lot of responsibility. That my boss currently, I love working with him, but he specifically is like, this is your avenue. This is your area where you make decisions, and I give you freedom to make that decision. And I love having that because I love having someone that loves me and trusts me enough to say, like, this is your area. Because at that point, I can also trust that, again, I can have the freedom to make decisions in that area for the betterment of everybody or for just us. Because I know he also has his avenue as well, and I respect him, and he's my authority in that regard. So I can go to him and say, like, this is outside my bounds, but I respect you and I respect your decisions, so you guide me on where you want to go. And there's also people that answer to me, and it's like, and I've worked in other odd jobs as well, where, again, like I've said, I've had to be the bearer of bad news a handful of times, and it's never fun.
Sometimes it's unpopular. You have to make those hardcore decisions that somebody's not going to like.
And it's the ones that are not black. The black and white decisions are pretty easy, right? It's clear as day.
Yep.
Yeah.
But boy, there's a lot of gray area.
There's a lot of gray in this world.
And there's
now.
the ones where you have to pray.
Yeah.
Lots of prayer.
Decision.
Discernment.
Yes.
Yep.
And you have to ask God, hey, help me,
wisdom.
Yes.
Wisdom.
Well, one of the things in the company that I work for, they've had a change of management. There's a change of management that happens kind of on a regular basis, just due to the nature of it. And I was speaking to somebody who was kind of speaking ill of that new management change. And I says, well, hold on. Do you even know these people? Well, no, but blah, 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 blah. And I says, hold on, let me tell you something. You have such a authority that you can probably just get me fired right now, but I'm going to say what's on my mind right now. And you and I have had this discussion. I said, let me tell you what I know. This is what I know. Jesus is losing ground in the world. And the men and women that have taken on the new leadership, the new helm of this ship, are prayer warriors. And that's what we need in leadership right now. We need men and women of faith and family.
Amen.
That are going to lead us, because now, you have that family making decisions for our family. They treat us as family. We're all part of the same mission, no matter what we are. But then you put that faith, and now you have a moral compass. You have some transparency. You have some accountability. That was where I was going. Thank you for helping me out there. But you have some accountability. And now you have people that are buying into this and wondering, this is great, or is this not great? And this person had to make that decision. I had this conversation with them saying, you don't know what you're talking about. Now you take this where you want to go with it. If you want to have me fired, you go get me fired. I saw them a year later, and this person hugged my neck and thanked me for showing them a different side. And they said they started to watch the decisions and the mannerisms of these leaders. And he said, I was wrong, and I apologize.
Wow.
And God, I went, thank you, God. Thank you.
Look how God used you, right?
And isn't that fantastic to be able to just affect people when you can just be honest with them and just tell the truth? Yeah, isn't the truth so powerful?
It is.
Especially in a world, and I'm going to say this, I know you want to say something, in a world of so many lies, the truth becomes revolutionary.
Yeah, but you in that, like, that's leadership, right? What you did was demonstrated leadership. And I don't know the position and all of that, but I'm pretty sure understanding where you work and all of that sometimes standing up like that takes courage, right? Because you don't know how somebody's going to take it.
Right.
But what I present to you is you have this inviting disposition about yourself, right? The way you talk kind of soft. I can see what people will
Me?
listen. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Do I really?
You have an inviting
Stony, you
spirit.
talk soft.
Yeah, you really do.
carry
No,
a big
I mean,
it's really a spirit.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a spirit about you. When I first met you, I could tell you as a man of God. Your approach, the way you talk. Everybody don't have that, right? Because that's something I'm challenged with, because I can come across as being a little too hard and working on that piece. So I think that's a gift.
Can I share with you where that comes from?
Yeah, please do.
I read the Bible. I am a man of faith. None of us here apologize for being men of faith. And the Bible has many translations to it, all done by human hand, hopefully inspired by God. But then not only do you have those translations, you have interpretations that can work in that translation too. Now, I believe that when I read the Bible, my God is so powerful, I'm going to get what he wants me to get out of it. But I found 4 truths in the Bible. Do y'all mind? Can I share those with you?
By all means.
I found 4 truths. No matter what you believe in the Bible, everything can be interpreted and translated differently. God created the earth and the universe in 7 days. Well, okay, man kind of came up with time. So what is God's 7 days? It may not be that, so it can be interpreted differently. But I've read the Bible in many versions and found 4 truths. God gives 4 job descriptions in the Bible. Did you know this? Anybody here?
Yep.
Okay, you did? Oh, me and you've talked about this before.
Yeah. Well, and I've also.
I'm very curious. Please share.
God gives 4 job descriptions. God says, I will judge. Jesus saves. The Holy Spirit convicts. And you're to love. It's that simple. And I believe that I want to do my part. At no time in my almost 60 years has God called me up and said, hey, Stoney, I'm going fishing this weekend. Can you do the judgment thing for me? He has tasked me to love. That's it. That's all I'm going to do. And I believe if I do my part, hopefully I can affect somebody's life and make a difference in somebody's life. Like you've made in mine, like that man has made in mine, like these 2 men on this podcast, Jason and Ian, have made on my life. We've uplifted and encouraged each other. And that's what's important to me. I don't believe in putting anybody down. There's no point. And
Amen.
That's why I hope that spirit is, and that's where that comes from. God told me, you love. That's it. Love.
I like that. Give us one more time. I will judge.
Okay. God judges.
Yes.
Jesus saves. The Holy Spirit convicts. And you're to love.
Amen.
And
Well,
it's just very simple.
It kind of goes really back to the 2 rules, the two things that Jesus said. Love God and love your neighbor.
That's it.
That's real, and that's kind of the message of the Christian life.
And how about that? When you add that to faith and family
That's right.
first.
That's right.
And that's why when we were talking about this subject, I said, please, can we do this?
Absolutely.
Because and there's more. We haven't delved into everything that we need to on this subject.
I think a lot of the issues, though, out there can be fixed if fathers were more involved in family life. To me,
Oh, absolutely.
that is right now the biggest crisis that's affecting us right now.
Right.
Why are churches generally filled with women and not men? Why is that?
That's a
What
good
what
question.
has happened with Christianity? And because that's generally what we're talking about here. Where have men abandoned Christianity? What is it? What has happened to us where that's not cool?
Well,
Like,
we've lost 2
anymore?
things. We've lost 2
what's
things.
going on?
I think I know what it is.
Go.
I think more often than not, having an older and wiser man in your life to be able to look at you in the face and say, like, you may think you're big and tough, but trust me when I say that, like, you need to be humble. And I think that's like a big thing. It's like having a father in my life that can look at me in the face and say, like, you can live your life, but have some core values, have some good values. And again, you may feel high and mighty, but you're really not. And like putting me in my place, and also like knowing that there's like a respecting other men and respecting other people was like a big thing growing up. And I think that also stemmed from my dad, but as well as like having respect for God in a way. And so I think that I would wager that lack of a father, lack of someone in their life teaching them the respect of an older man or respect of another man in general, or respect for God at all. I think again, all hypothetical here, if I was a man and I was growing up and I had no other male figures and I had to do this by myself, I had to go take care of my mom, I had to go take care of my family, it's all me. And at that point, it would give me like a complex of like, I don't need nobody else. I got this. And I think that's a big
how do
thing.
kids learn? How do kids learn? They watch, they listen, and they're watching you more. So if you don't have a good male role model in your life and you're a young boy, how do you learn how to be a man? Because they're watching every move you make. They watch and listen to every word that comes out of your mouth. So if you want to teach a kid critical thinking and you want to teach a kid how to make good decisions in the face of adversity, you have to do it by example. You have to show him, wow, this is coming down on us. Hey, let's do this together. Why don't we just, hey, buddy, why don't me and you figure out a way to solve this and bring them into the critical thinking mode and the safety zone? But why don't we start it off with prayer? Uh-oh, I got everybody quiet there. I'm sorry. Hold on.
Because this is a deep topic, and it requires a lot of thought. Because
faith and family first.
Faith and family first.
When you were talking, he was talking about the model. I think about my kids, right?
Yeah.
And trying to provide that example, and and there have been some disrespectful times that I had to get right, right? And honestly, I got it right on how I was taught to get it right.
Right.
Some may disagree with that, right? I think I turned out okay, but there's some who may disagree with that, and it was through the form of discipline. Because what I said to them was, if you don't respect me in my house, then you're not going to respect anybody outside this house.
Right.
That's where it starts.
It starts at home.
Exactly.
So I had to teach that respect in ways, and as they got older, it was,
And that's why. Well, again, like I think that at every point during a kid's life, there's going to be that rub between like I want to be independent. Like I was a late teenager the same way, and I was hard headed. That's bound to happen. But regardless, like it's still you get through that, and if there is that discipline there, if that is that foundation, there comes a time where you get into like your 20s and you're like, you know what, I was kind of being a jackass a little bit, and I'm seeing that now, and I'm like, okay, there is a respect there. There is because that's kind of how the world works. You have a boss, and at a certain point, you got to be like,
that's right.
What that person
You're
says
accountable
goes.
to
At least
somebody.
right now, at least until you're the boss, and then of course, then you can call the shots if you want. But that's I don't know. That's how that whole dance works. So I feel like I don't know.
I have to get fathers back involved. Our culture, unfortunately, from just what I've seen in movies,
right,
in music, whatever the case may be, I do not sense or see strong male figures at all. Everything I see now is very female dominated. I see a lot of, in the culture, men are made out to be incompetent, out of control.
I think
that reinforces, I think, this notion, and we've become a compartmentalized society.
I think there definitely can be a both and. I think there could be great, strong female leaders. There could be great, strong female role models in the world. But I don't like the tearing down of strong male role models. I don't think that's right. I feel like there can be both, but I don't feel like that's where I think
Well, now you're going to talk about get me on religion, and we're talking about that. I do believe there's a divine order of things.
Yeah.
Well, but there's also something else too.
I'm a firm believer in that.
And everybody here except Miss Portia over here has seen me and my wife together. And we have a very unique love and admiration for each other. And even though I am the male of the house and I wear the pants, she does pick them out for me. But we
That's a
have
good way of putting it.
we have a very unique way that we handle life and life challenges. And we understand that sometimes I need to be in the front.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple men who know me pretty well here who know if I'm out in the front, I may be a kind soul. Mess with my family or friends. I'll show you another side. But then I also know that there's a time that she needs to be in the front.
And that's what I'm meaning.
But
So
guess
there
where we
needs to be
spend? Guess where we spend most of our time? Standing right next to each other.
Yeah.
And loving the Lord, loving our life, and loving everything that we can.
Right.
And we love to spend that side-by-side time. But we also know there's an appropriate time for me and her to be out front.
You have roles.
We have roles. Yeah. And I am encouraged by her strength. I am encouraged and uplifted by her intelligence. And y'all have seen her. She's a hottie doctor. Oh, wait, that's what we call her on the show, hottie doctor.
You definitely outpunted your coverage.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. That's all right. That's all right. God is good.
Yeah.
God is good.
So I, if you would indulge me, I would love to get to know more about you in a certain way.
Okay.
I just want to get. I would love to learn a little bit more about, like, what brought you from your youth, from where you came from, wherever that may have been. What brought you to where you are right now? I just want to know more about you. I feel like you're such an interesting guy, and I want to learn more about how, what has molded and shaped you to the person you are right now.
How did you get to the table?
Yeah.
How did you get to the retrospect table today?
How did you get here?
I could tell you this: it wasn't in my plan. You want to see
Right.
God laugh? Tell him your plan.
That's right. That's right.
I had no desire to be chief of police of Baton Rouge.
Right.
And
Did you
even-
always want to be in law enforcement?
Now, law enforcement. My first positive. Look, I grew up in the city of New Orleans, and
There you go.
look, you could just Google the city of New Orleans back, when I was a young kid, and some of the corruption that was going on at that time. So they didn't have a very favorable opinion of law enforcement because of what we saw. I grew up in the lower Ninth Ward in New Orleans, Louisiana. Had a very strong woman in my life. I have two sisters, and just to see the unprofessionalism that we saw, and like, let's just be clear that there were good officers too, right. But we saw things as young kids that you just knew wasn't right,
Right.
and I think that it was how they would treat everybody, like making you feel like you were part of the problem. But no, it's not everybody in this community.
Right.
They're good people in this community. My mom worked at the sugar refinery,
Okay.
My dad was a truck driver. We were good kids in school. And then when you had law enforcement come in and treated everybody in the community like they were part of the problem. Nah, the drug dealer over there.
Yeah,
the guys over there.
Sure.
Yeah.
We
I can point them out.
Yeah, we the good kids.
Right.
So I think just seeing that, it didn't. But my first positive experience, I was at a K&B drugstore. Y'all
There
probably
you
don't
go.
know
Oh, yeah, I
about
remember
K&B.
those.
Long time ago.
In
Right.
St.
I worked
Bernard-
at one.
Yeah, in St. Bernard Parish.
The
And-
last one closed down when I was a kid.
Really?
Yeah.
There he goes again with that
Yeah.
age thing.
It was in St. Bernard Parish, right past the line, past the Jackson Barracks. And as I was going through the door, I bumped into a state trooper.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to understand, New Orleans was rough back then in our community. And he said, "Excuse me, sir." And I was like, "Wow,
Yeah.
get out of the way, young man." I'm thinking, and it's just the way he apologized for
Right.
bumping into me, and he called me sir.
Yeah.
And I thought state police were gold after that, man. I'm
Right,
like, wow,
right.
look at this big guy. and this-
Respect.
Yeah.
He respected you as
he
an
was
individual.
the first police officer that I encountered that showed me respect.
Wow.
Facts. And I just was high on state police. After that, I was in school at the University of New Orleans, and my mom told me I had to go in because I set out a semester.
Yeah.
And he did two things: either you working, or you in school.
My mom told me the same thing. She's like, I'm not gonna have no bum for a kid. She's like, either once you graduate high school, you're gonna go to college and do something and stay here, or you're gonna be going to work.
Yeah, you just don't go sit around the house.
So I set out a semester, and she said, you either work and you go to school. So I went down and took the tests, and I got a call to I had to fill out the application, and I got a call. It was the state test for law enforcement, and I got a call from Levee Board Police.
Oh man!
And they send this letter home, and my mom was like, "You going to school?" I was like, "Nope, you're going to take this job."
Right.
You know, and go respond, and that's how I became a Levee Board Police.
Okay.
And I went through the Harbor Police Academy, and that's like in 1991.
There you go.
Yeah, I went through the Harbor Police Academy. Won the driving award, won the Scholastic Award. And let me tell you, because you got me reminiscing right now.
Right.
There was a newspaper. It was called the Something Weekly. It was Louisiana Weekly, I believe it was called.
Yeah.
No, and they had me on the front a cover. They took my
there you
pictures.
Go.
Look out!
I was about 3 sizes smaller than I am now. But you talk about a proud moment to see my mom with these awards and standing there, and it's in the newspaper. And she probably bought 100 copies and giving it to everybody. Look at my baby. Look at my baby. Right. That's my baby. That's my baby.
Yeah.
And then a good buddy of mine who I went through with said, "Hey man, state police is hiring." This is 94. I'm going to take the test. You want to come? I'm like, yeah, I'll come with you. Let's go see. And we took the test, and we got accepted immediately. And best thing ever happened to me, because it in both academies, it gave me discipline a lot more, right?
Oh, I can imagine.
I could remember going through the State Police Academy, and this little short guy, his name was John Rouse. I want to just
Lord,
John. Well, he had this military, and he just screaming and yelling. I just wanted to grab him, and he later turned out to be my FTO. Oh man, yeah. He showed me much love. He's like, kiddo, that's what we do when you're in the academy. But it was just a brotherhood. Some of the best times of my life, and then I had a great career, moved through the ranks, and then. Was going through a different chapter, and I actually paid to go to John Maxwell School in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Okay.
To be a certified trainer and coach with John Maxwell.
That's amazing.
That was my plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to Florida. Oh, my gosh, it was one of the best experiences. And he's proud now. You had to pay a lot of money.
Yeah.
And my plan was to come back and start Work to Give. Was going to be the name of my company. I did a little video, and I'm like, I'm going to do Work to Give. And a young lady that I met there who was there from the Baton Rouge area said, hey, the chief of police position is Baton Rouge. You should consider putting in for it. I was like,
who, me?
Yeah.
Right.
And I got a call. She said, but you had some great ideas, about community relations and things like that. And I ended up getting a call, and I said, well, let me put in for it. Let me see. And I put in on the last day.
Mm-hmm.
The last day.
The last day.
There
wow.
you go.
That's God.
Now,
You were top of the stack.
I didn't think about that. That's awesome.
There you go.
Let me tell you, I was able to put in for it because I had a fresh resume, because I had just applied for state police prior to that. Mm-hmm. So all of my stuff was ready. I just had to go online and change the name.
Yeah.
Right?
The positions. Yeah.
And if I didn't have that, I would not have been able to get all that together. So I just take it, same strategies, same 6-point strategy that I had to lead. I put together, and I submitted at the last minute.
There you go.
And the process took too long. This is Scott. Process took too long. But I was on my way to Florida, and I get a call from a man in Chicago
All right.
who said that they saw my interview on television, and it was the interview process. And they said, did they offer you the job yet? I said, no, sir. He said, well, are you hearing anything? I'm like, nah, it's taking too long, because it was a couple of months. And I had not heard anything. And he said, well, look, if you don't get it, shame on Baton Rouge. He said, but good for us. I want to offer you a job. He said, how much you make?
Wow.
And he offered me a job making what I make. He said, you can stay home and you're going to get a bonus.
There you go.
And I said, really? He said, yeah. I said, well, look, I'm on my way to Orlando with my family and I'm excited. And he said, I'm in Orlando.
Oh, wow. Okay. Things are really lining up.
Like, well, look, can we meet up? He said, no, I'm about to fly out. He said, but I just signed a contract with Walt Disney.
What?
And I need somebody in the southern region. And I was like, man, so you can imagine I'm like balling on this trip, right? I'm just so excited. I'm so happy. And then I get a call. I get a call about the Baton Rouge job. And I'm like, I'm good. You know, I'm going to work for this other company. And I had to pray on it.
Yeah.
I had to pray on it. And when I prayed on it, and I talked to a mentor, you'd be surprised who I call who that mentor is.
Oh, yeah.
Mark Fournette.
Really?
Absolutely. That's a man of God. He's been one of my mentors. Oh my gosh. That's I love him. That's my guy, right?
Wow.
And Mark Fournette. Watch my kids, very close, great relationship. Yes, sir. And Mark said, you got to pray on it. Because I was going to take my name out of consideration for Baton Rouge, you know. I ain't got to go through that. And I prayed on it, and God led me and say, no, this is where we need you to be at this time. And had I got the memo, I wouldn't have took the job. I'm telling you.
You're right.
But that's how God works,
Of course.
right? And then
Yeah.
when you begin to experience things, and then you realize, man, he's been preparing me for this ride the whole time.
That's right.
Even in my own life, it's very similar circumstance of like knowing the right people and being at the right place at the right time.
Yes.
And of course, having the right skill set has really paid off a lot. And then being able to just like be willing to just, all right, God, where are we going next? What's going to happen? Because I know what I want to do, and I know a lot of times what I want to do is not what you want to do.
Yeah.
And that I've had some hard decisions in my life as well, akin to what you're talking about. It being like, I got a good thing going here. I don't want to mess this up, but I feel like you're leading me to make a pretty big decision here, and I got to commit. And so yeah.
I think it's interesting that you said, and I want to second something you said earlier, that one person really changed your life. You met a trooper who changed your life, a Louisiana State Police trooper. And if I could, I would like to say I got to witness that one time, about 5 years ago. I belong to an organization that we kind of deal with battered women and children in an aggressive manner, and we're just going to leave that one alone there. But I had somebody in my care, and his mother. The father was going to get out of jail, and they were afraid for the little boy's life, and so we were watching the situation. And the mother told me that the boy had not really spoken in a couple of months, and she hadn't seen him smile in over 8 years. But I was doing the weekend duty protecting this little boy, and leaving some of the information out of it because it's not necessary. But I got in the path of a Louisiana State trooper, and this little boy was curious about the trooper's lights and sirens on the vehicle. And so I spoke to the trooper. I said, sir, you don't know me from Adam. I'm sorry, but this little boy is curious. And he says, well, when you finish your ice cream, you bring him over to the unit. I guess y'all, unit or however y'all describe the vehicles. And he said, just bring him over to it. And he tossed that little boy in the seat, the front seat of that police unit.
Yeah.
And they hit every bell, every whistle, every light, every siren. The people in that place must have thought we were all crazy. And all of a sudden I felt this spirit, and I turned around, and the mother was crying because that little boy was smiling from ear to ear. And that mother's blouse was wet from tears. And that trooper made such an impact on that young man's life. This was 5 years later. Guess what? That young man still wants to be a trooper.
Wow.
There we go.
This is his dream. Now he's still got a few years to go. But it's amazing how one person can impact somebody's life. And that's hopefully the spirit that I know Ian has and Jason has, and I believe everybody here. If we can impact one person's life. I just had brain surgery. And I was very concerned about my wife having to go through that by herself. And the family that I have in the place that I work now showed up in droves to support my family to support her. And it was one of the most amazing things because I went from a 3% to a 45% mortality on the surgery. I had a 50-50 shot of passing. And I got to see some of the most amazing men and women look after me and my family. And it was so moving. It was so much love. I wish everybody could see them like I see them.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we can't continue to live in hatred and fear. And I believe the foundation of that change is in this conversation. Faith, family first.
Well, and the whole reason why I asked, about your story and just where you came from and stuff is I feel like a lot of times, especially like a person like yourself, having responsibility and, people look up to you in a certain way, is that we're all just people. We're all just people. We're all just people with stories, and we're all just trying to make sense of it. Sometimes some are better than others, and I feel like a lot of times being able to allow somebody to just open up a little bit and be able to talk about, talk about their background, talk about how
it took me down memory
what got you here.
Well, exactly. It's like being able to put a story, be able to put emotion behind a position. You know what I mean? Like that.
Amen.
It really humanizes it.
Yeah.
It makes it realize that like you were a kid at one point in time with a
wait, you were a kid?
Oh, it's like, you had stuff in your life, and again, if nothing else, I mean, if I'm taking anything away from this, is like every chance that I can get where you can show respect and show love inside young people's lives, specifically in like those hard areas, or even like you don't know the full story. It's like being able to look into a kid and and being able to instill love and respect in them, it could drastically change the trajectory of their life.
Yeah. And that's why I said what I do, because I learned something to me in that surgery.
Yeah.
Right.
Say it.
Yeah.
If you feel it, say it. Because I almost didn't think about this. I've known you for a while.
Yeah.
If I would have passed in that surgery, I would have never told you how I felt.
That's right.
There you go.
And you would have never known. Ian, you would have never known. Jason, Colonel Cameron, and now Miss Portia. Even her. We had a great conversation yesterday, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to make it intentional. I want to live the faith family life first, and I really want to superly become intentional about that.
It is so important to surround yourself by positive people, by people with shared values, right?
Yep.
And unfortunately, you're going to run across some people who are toxic. They may be family members. They may be friends who you were around a long time and may be going through something. And
that don't mean they're in the same direction as you.
That's correct. And it could change. And I'm so intentional now about my space. My space. Because my mental health is important too. And, the older you get, the more you realize.
And especially as much as Ian has reminded us as old as we are today.
Well,
the older you get, I mean, that's,
right.
Let's be honest, your mortality starts coming into play.
We talked about this a few episodes back. Again, it was my birthday episode. It's like I just hit 29, and I'm within the next year about to hit 30, and it's like I am confident enough to know that I don't know, I'm a continual example of learning, and that I don't know everything, and that I am still young, and I get that. But it is crazy to like hit that, that marker of like, oh man, I'm
29 to 30. That's
right.
That's
Yeah.
a big jump.
It's right. It feels different.
I have this great picture in my office, and it is 6 lions all facing the camera, and they're crouched, and they're coming in, and it says, surround yourself with people that are on the same mission. And it's so amazing. And that's when I look in this room right now, that's what I'm surrounded by, people on the same mission. And now we have a name for it, Faith Family First.
Faith Family First.
And, it's kind of amazing that I love what Ian's saying too, is that I'm almost 60.
Yeah.
I don't have enough life in me to make all the mistakes and learn from them. So do it together, communicate, learn together. Be on the same mission, because I can't make all the mistakes.
I've had my own mentors. I've had my own people in my life be able to look at me and tell me, some very.
We had a discussion about that last week.
Very
the glorification of busy.
Right. Someone looking into me. And,
we're not as busy as we think we are.
Right. But it's being able to look at me and say those hard things is great. Because again, at the time I was in my younger 20s, and I felt like I was right and justified. And you're like. Yeah, it takes someone.
But that's what we talked about in leadership, even in the family. You have to submit yourself to authority. Right. But authority is so vastly different than leadership. You can be a person of authority and have no leadership skills, and you can be an amazing leader with no authority. Yeah. And so I'm very careful about who I submit myself to their leadership. I have people that I work for, and on a day-to-day basis, I must submit to that authority. But people in this room that I submit myself to that leadership, I'm very intentional about that. I'm only going to submit myself to people's leadership that I respect, that are going to benefit me and my family. And I don't mean monetarily benefit that, but be on the same mission so they don't try to pull me away from my family and my faith.
Yeah. Family is so important. And you start talking about, you said earlier, that foundation, right? Well, that foundation. Yeah. My mom passed away in 2002.
Wow.
And there was never a time that I spoke with her that she didn't say, I love you.
Oh, yeah. That's important.
Like, we never got off the phone. Even my sisters now, when we talk, okay, love you too, babe. Right. Yeah. And even my friends. Mark, I love you, love you, brother, love you, man, and so I've always expressed myself that way,
Yeah.
Love you, brother, love you. We do that. And
yes, we do.
We've been doing that before it was even cool.
That's right. Before it was cool, baby. That's right.
Before it was cool.
That's right.
Right.
But that was that foundation of love that was, put in me.
But that was put in you so you could experience it, and how that felt coming from your mother.
Yeah.
And you want somebody else that you care about to experience it when you say it to them and mean it with that authenticity and that genuineness that you have, that I've experienced since the very first day I met you. We've had that connection. I've had that connection with that man right there also. That it's from day one, and you feel the genuineness about that. Yeah. People say it all the time, love you, love you, love you, and it's not true. But we look each other in the eye, and we say, I love you, and I miss you. What do you need?
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Call me, let me know you made it home safe. Mm-hmm. That's the type of people I want in my life, because that's the people that's going to encourage my faith, and that's the people that's going to encourage my family. Yep. And that's I'm almost 60. To be married for a year, my family means everything. Miranda was stuck in a tree for like 20 years. It took me a long time to find her. Now that I found her, I want people that are going to encourage.
We're going to bring her back on the show and talk about that.
Right. Yeah. But now that I found her, I want people that are going to be around us, that encourage us and uplift us and appreciate that connection that we have and enjoy that connection.
Life is so hard.
Yes.
And this journey, there's always going to be ups and downs.
Sure.
Right. And prayer.
But would you know the good times if you didn't know the bad times?
No, you wouldn't.
So we
You
got to
wouldn't.
have them both.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
you do.
You got to have them.
But you also have to have self-awareness, right? And no self. Last Friday, I had a leadership retreat with our health and safety and my senior staff, and it was a debriefing for the senior team. Because we have all of these peer support things in place when our
Right.
officers experience trauma.
Right.
We lost 2 of our heroes, 2 of our helicopter pilots. But I never really dealt with that issue. I mean, I'm smiling,
Yeah.
and let me tell you, there was two things that happened. I lost a friend to suicide. Somebody who I lost a friend, and I remember we was printing. She was doing some work for us, and I had sent an email asking for some corrections or something, and I didn't get a response. And you know how it is. You first thing, I'm trying to get this thing done, and I remember sitting in my office and I sent a prayer. I texted, say lifting you up in prayer, and then the mayor, I believe it was the mayor who sent me when I was out of town, the obituary. It was in the paper, and I was like, what? And I looked at the date.
Yikes.
The date I sent the email was the day, and I sent that text the next day after. I realized the day after, and I was just wondering, what if I had sent that
Yeah.
the day before or the day before? Would that have made a difference? You never know how you can change somebody's life by
Just
lifting
by
them
words.
up,
Lift them
by
up.
words.
Thank you.
And I never dealt with that. I've lost 6 police officers since I've been chief.
Wow.
1 in the wreck, 1 to violence. 2 to COVID, and 2 in a helicopter. That affected me more, the helicopter crash, than any other one, because I felt a sense of responsibility, right, for that. And I had never dealt with those issues. But through prayer and, sitting down with just good people like you who praying and help me navigate through those emotions that of guilt
Help process
that
it.
I was
That's
experiencing.
heavy. That's heavy to deal with, and it's heavy because, again, like I said, with your position, it may not be your fault, but you feel a sense of responsibility.
I did. I still do.
And that's what I'm saying.
Still
And
do.
so, that's not something to take lightly. And so I can only imagine,
But one
trying
of the
to-
things, one of the reasons you have my heart and always will, is you lead with compassion and empathy for you and your people and your family and everybody around you, even to be friends with somebody like me. and that is just so amazing to me. And that's one of the reasons you will always have my heart, is because that's how you lead.
Yeah.
And I wish everybody could see that.
Losing the office is hard.
That I can't even
When you
imagine.
That's
look at
I've
look at
lost
their
people
wives,
around me.
look
I've
at
lost
their
people
kids,
under
their
my
fathers,
charge.
their families as
And it's
well.
just,
and not having all the answers because they want
Yep.
answers.
Of course.
Let me tell you, brother, that is a hard thing to deal with.
I don't envy you.
Yeah,
No.
that's a hard thing to deal with.
no.
That's crazy. Well, I hate to end it on this note, but is there anything else that we want to add before we go ahead and wrap out the end of this show? Is there anything else you want to say? Anything you want to leave with? Because I think we've said a whole lot.
Yes.
I want to thank you for taking this time
Yes, sir.
and
Yeah.
joining us and having this amazing conversation. This is just brilliant to me. This is amazing. And I just want to thank you, Chief Paul, for coming out here and having this conversation with us.
I second that.
I love you, brother.
Thank you.
I love you with all of my heart. And
I love you
I
too,
just,
brother.
I'm amazed that you would take the time to come have this conversation with us.
Chief.
Thank you for having me.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're honored that you were able to come here and spend some time with us.
Sure.
We learned a lot.
Yes, sir.
This meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
This is
It's really
amazing.
great.
I appreciate you.
All right. Well, for anybody out there who's looking to either give us some suggestions or to reach out to us, we have a Facebook page /Retrospect Pod where you can send in comments or topic suggestions for us or people that you want to get on the show.
And if they're too long of comments,
Yes,
which has been happening lately, we got a 2-page comment that somebody had to email. What was that email again?
It's getoffendedtogether@gmail.com. And so we have that. So you can go ahead and send us anything that can't fit in the Facebook messages. But you can also just type in Retrospect on any of the major podcasting platforms and you should be able to find us there. But until next time, thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone. God bless.
Attitude is a choice.
You're the best. Peace.